Hairstylist vanished after house call in 2017. 7 years later, her tools were found dumped by the roadside, still zipped in her bag. Hello, my viewers. Welcome to the channel. We are just getting started and your support means a lot. If you enjoy the stories, please consider subscribing and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for being here. She was supposed to be back by 4. That's what the salon manager remembers. It was a Friday. Warm, dry skies. Traffic was normal. No alerts. No accidents. The 2 p.m. house call was nothing unusual, just a color touch-up and trim for a long-time client. Something she'd done dozens of times before. But that afternoon, she never returned, never called, never answered. Her name was Danielle Harris. She was 31, a licensed stylist, quiet, punctual, and meticulous. Every tool had its place. Every appointment was logged in ink. Danielle kept her black salon bag locked when not in use. Her shears were sharpened monthly. Her clippers were cleaned with hospital-grade disinfectant. Clients trusted her, not just with their appearance, but with their time. Danielle didn't cancel. Danielle didn't run late. That day, she left Salon 42, just outside Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a little after 1:30 p.m. Her destination, a single-story ranch home off County Road 6, about 20 minutes southeast. She was booked to do a color refresh for a retired school teacher, Mrs. Linda Covington, 72, a regular, friendly, a little chatty, but always grateful. By 3:45 p.m., Danielle's chair at the salon was still empty. By 4:15, the receptionist texted. No response. At 4:40, her boyfriend, Tyler, called twice, straight to voicemail. By 5 p.m., her manager was calling the client's house. That night, no one slept. Linda Covington was the last confirmed person to see Danielle Harris. She told officers that everything had been completely normal. Danielle had arrived on time. They chatted briefly. She mixed the dye in the kitchen like she always did. They shared iced tea. At around 3:20, the session wrapped up. Linda said Danielle packed up, walked her to the door, and smiled goodbye. I watched her walk to the car, she told detectives. Put her bag in the back. She waved. Then she drove off. And just like that, Danielle was gone. No one knows where she went from there. No cameras caught her driving through the intersection at Route 12. Her phone went dark at 3:41 p.m. And by 6 p.m., her name was already being shared in local Facebook groups. A stylist gone silent? That didn't happen. Not to Danielle. The police were notified at 9:12 p.m. A missing persons report was filed before midnight, but without a scene, without a crash or a call for help. There was little they could do. She hadn't left a note. She hadn't packed a bag. There was no recent breakup, no argument, no signs of stress. And the next morning brought no answers. 3 days later, her car was found. A white 2011 Nissan Sentra, locked, untouched, parked neatly behind an abandoned fireworks stand, off State Route 203, 12 miles northwest of where she'd last been seen. The vehicle showed no signs of struggle, no forced entry, no blood, no personal items. But two things stood out. The driver's seat had been pushed far back, too far for Danielle, who was barely 5 feet 3 inches, to reach the pedals, and the mirror was angled hard toward the passenger side, almost like someone had been watching the seat beside them. Her keys were missing. Her phone was never found, and her black salon bag was nowhere in the car. For weeks, the case sat in headlines. The salon held prayer vigils. Posters went up along interstates and gas station windows. There were no ransom calls, no security footage, no witnesses. Danielle's family hired a private investigator. He lasted 6 months before walking away. There's nothing to follow, he said. No trail, no footprints, like she just dissolved. By spring of 2018, the case had already begun to cool. The official file from the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office was 29 pages and growing dust. And Danielle Harris, the stylist with a quiet smile and a perfect track record, became a name that people remembered when they passed the empty chair at Salon 42. Until 7 years later, a Tuesday in May, early morning, a county maintenance crew was mowing the grassy shoulder of Highway 315, just south of McMinnville, and that's when they saw it, a black nylon salon bag, dry, zipped, resting gently at the edge of the ditch, on top of the grass. It hadn't been rained on. It wasn't dusty. It hadn't even settled into the soil. Inside, her scissors, still sharp, her clippers, oiled, her wide tooth combs, sorted perfectly, and the same zippered pouch she always kept her appointment book in, still open, to Friday, June 9th, 2017, and the last client listed, Linda Covington, 2 p.m., color retouch, home visit, underlined once in blue ink, just like Danielle always did. The roadside bag had no fingerprints, no signs of disturbance, and the strangest thing, that patch of ditch had already been cleared, just 3 months earlier. That means the bag had not been sitting there for years. It had been placed, recently, carefully, almost like someone wanted it found, not to solve anything, not to explain, but to remind that she was real, and someone out there still knows. The last person to see Danielle Harris alive was a 72-year-old woman with soft white curls, mane sharp. Linda Covington didn't consider herself forgetful. Not then, not now. I remember her shoes, she told the detective, white with gold trim. I remember because I complimented them. She laughed and said she only wears them for quiet clients like me. Linda remembered the hair dye she used, the playlist Danielle played softly from her phone, the way she double-checked the back of her head in the hallway mirror. Everything felt normal, calm, unremarkable, until the officers asked about what happened after Danielle left, and Linda paused. She frowned and said something that had never made it into the original case file. There was a truck, she said, a silver pickup, across the street, engine running. I remember the sound. She said it had been parked just off the road, facing the opposite direction, windows tinted, the engine idling low. I didn't think much of it. I assumed it belonged to one of the neighbor's boys, but now I'm not so sure. When asked why she hadn't reported it sooner, she just shook her head. Back then, I was still hoping she'd turn up, she said. I didn't want to start pointing fingers. The problem was, the neighbor across the street, a man named Jerry Ellis, had been out of town that entire week. He'd taken his wife to Nashville for a medical appointment. His driveway should have been empty. So whose truck was it? And why had it been running, facing away from the scene? Just as Danielle walked to her car, police returned to the street, asked around again. No one else remembered seeing the truck. No one saw Danielle leave, not even the woman 2 doors down, who usually sat on her porch every afternoon with a cigarette. Maybe I went inside, she told officers. Maybe I missed her by 5 minutes. Maybe, but no one remembered the truck, and no one saw which direction Danielle drove. What we're left with is a span of 12 minutes. 12 minutes between the moment she got into her Nissan Sentra and the moment her phone went dark. 12 minutes where no one could trace her. No traffic cameras caught her. No texts were sent. No calls made. 12 minutes for someone to intercept her, or follow her, or wait for her to drive into the perfect blind spot. Her cell tower ping? It placed her on Route 9, headed northwest. But that signal dropped off before she could reach the turnoff to highway. There were no tolls, no gas station footage, no ATM swipes. Danielle simply vanished between 2 turns and into silence. And then, of course, there's the bag. The discovery site was re-examined 3 times. After the salon kit was found, the grass showed no signs of disturbance. The soil beneath it was dry. There were no tire impressions near the ditch, no shoe prints, no broken stalks of grass. Whoever left it there had been careful. Some said it was guilt. Some thought it was a message. But the strangest part wasn't the tools. It was what wasn't there. The plastic gloves were missing. The hair cape she always packed was gone. Her disinfectant bottle, which was labeled with her name, wasn't in the bag either. 3 things she never forgot. 3 things that were always packed, always cleaned, always logged. Gone, like someone had taken them, then returned the rest. The police released a short statement. The discovery of the personal effects belonging to Ms. Harris has reopened active lines of investigation. We urge anyone with knowledge, no matter how small, to come forward. But no one did. 7 years is a long time. Long enough to forget. Long enough for a witness to move. Long enough for someone to believe. They got away with it. And for Danielle's family, the discovery reopened wounds that never fully closed. Her mother, Teresa, flew in from Florida. She hadn't been able to bring herself to visit Tennessee in years. Now she stood outside the sheriff's office, with a bag in her hands, weeping quietly. She would have wanted this back clean, she whispered. She always kept it clean. But then Teresa said something. That changed the trajectory of the case. She said Danielle had been nervous in the weeks before her disappearance, more cautious, less trusting. She stopped going to clients she didn't know, her mother said. She even changed her routes, said someone had followed her from the grocery store once. But no report was filed, no complaint made. Danielle hadn't wanted to sound dramatic, so she kept going, kept smiling, kept driving to homes alone, and one day didn't come back, which raises a question. Did someone know her schedule? Did someone wait until she was alone on a quiet road, out of view, with no witnesses? Or was the truck across the street not a coincidence? Did Danielle see it? Recognize it? Was that why she turned off her phone? Was she trying to buy time? Trying to avoid being tracked? We don't know, but we do know this. The truck was never found. The driver never came forward. And the bag, dry and zipped on top of the grass, sat where the sun could find it, where the wind couldn't bury it, where someone wanted it seen. The bag was real. The scissors were hers. The ink in the appointment book had not faded. But it wasn't the bag that reawakened suspicion. It wasn't the silver truck. It wasn't even the blank stretch of time that Danielle seemed to disappear into. It was what her mother found, tucked under her bed, 42 days after she vanished. A small, spiral-bound journal, red cover, unlabeled. She wasn't snooping. Teresa Harris had flown back up to Tennessee to pack up her daughter's apartment. It was late August. The sun was still sharp. Everything inside smelled faintly like the lavender candle Danielle kept on her nightstand. The lease was ending, and the bedroom still looked like Danielle had just stepped out for coffee. The closet was untouched. Her laundry basket was half full. There was a sticky note on the fridge that read, "Pickup conditioner, Friday." But under the mattress, where Teresa felt something solid pressing to the bed frame slats, she found a notebook. It wasn't a diary. Not exactly. Just scattered thoughts. Client notes, hair care routines, occasional quotes scribbled in the margins. But in the very back, on a page torn halfway out, there was a paragraph, written in Danielle's handwriting, signed with her initials, and dated May 27, 2017, exactly 13 days before she disappeared. It read, "If anything ever happens to me, it won't be random. There's a man who keeps showing up at gas stations, outside the salon, even once near Linda's place. I've never spoken to him, but I know his truck. I can't prove it, but he knows my name, and he always parks where I can see him. He wants me to know. DH. Teresa froze. She reread it, twice, and when she handed it to police, they took it like it was the first real lead they'd had in years. A description was included. No plate number, no sketch, but the mention of the silver truck. That was enough to reopen everything. Danielle had seen it before, recognized it, and feared it. So, who was the man in the truck? And why had no one seen him but her? That's where things start to fracture. Danielle's friends recalled her growing anxious in the weeks before she vanished. One said she had changed her locks. Another remembered her hesitating to park in the back lot of salon. She kept saying something felt off. One friend, Angela, told reporters. She said she felt like she was being watched, that someone was circling her appointments. But Danielle never went to police, never mentioned the name, and if she was being followed, the man never made a move. Until the day he did, investigators created a profile, a man in his 30s or 40s, local, familiar with Danielle's schedule, maybe someone who posed as a client once, a man who didn't want to hurt her at first, just watch, control, be noticed, and maybe one day decided it wasn't enough. But the town was small. No one matched. No known stalkers. No repeat offenders. And no record of anyone loitering near the salon. So they pulled traffic logs, searched DMV registrations. Every silver pickup in the area was flagged. Nothing matched until one detail surfaced. From Linda Covington herself. She remembered something else. The day of the appointment. The day Danielle disappeared. Linda said there was something about the front license plate. Not numbers, just a word. A vanity plate. She didn't remember the whole thing, just one part. It said, "Washed." Investigators ran it and found only one match. Within 100 miles, a man named Franklin Rourke, 58, retired auto detailer, owned a silver 2003 Dodge Ram, registered with a custom plate, "Washed." He lived in a town 2 counties over. No known connection to Danielle, no criminal history, no social media presence. But when detectives knocked on his door, he wasn't home. The truck was in the driveway. Clean, almost too clean, interior vacuumed, air freshener still hanging. A neighbor said Franklin had left unexpectedly the week before, packed an overnight bag, told no one where he was going. That was 2 days after the bag of tools was discovered. Coincidence? Or guilt? Detectives searched the property. With a warrant, they found nothing conclusive. No hair, no DNA, no trace of Danielle. But behind his garage, in the weeds along a rusted fence, they found a single black glove, latex, crumpled, left hand. It matched the brand Danielle used for hair dye, but there was no way to prove it was hers. No prints, no skin cells, just the glove. And silence. Franklin Rourke never came back. His bank cards were never used again. His phone went offline the same day the police visited, and just a timestamp from a toll booth camera that caught Danielle's car with someone else behind the wheel. And why the footage was never flagged until now. It was buried in a backup drive. A toll camera still running off an outdated timestamp system. No motion detection, no facial recognition, just a single lens pointed at the center of toll route 91, clicking one grainy frame every 6 seconds. Nobody had reviewed that footage in 7 years, not until a retired state investigator, reviewing dead files his own time, requested a new scan of archive checkpoints on the outer loop roads, just in case, on a hunch, looking for any sign of Danielle's car, between the place she left and the place she was never supposed to be found. And on a slow Tuesday in June, he found something. Time, 3:52 p.m. Date, June 9, 2017. A white 2011 Nissan Sentra, matching Danielle's make and plate, passed through the eastbound booth at exit 34. The route made no sense. It was the opposite direction, from her usual path back to Salon 42, a rural exit rarely used, leading away from both the client's neighborhood and the town. But there it was, her car, clear enough to confirm the model, the wheel rims, the missing dealer badge on the back. It was hers. But what mattered most wasn't the car. It was a silhouette in the driver's seat and the shape of a head in the passenger seat, because Danielle always drove alone, and she never let clients drop her off, never gave rides. But this time, there were 2 people inside. The driver was tall, bulkier, closer to the steering wheel. The seat was pushed back farther than Danielle ever drove. The person wore a cap, bill low, head forward. The passenger's side, just a glimpse, a figure. Still, no movement, no obvious struggle. But what haunted investigators was the angle of the head, tilted toward the driver, as if she was looking at him, as if she'd been told to. They enhanced it, stabilized the footage, but 6-second intervals left more questions than answers. At 3:52 p.m., the car passed through. By 3:58, it had disappeared from every feed. The road ahead was unmonitored. No security, no businesses, just pine trees, dusty shoulder lanes, and 40 miles of quiet. Whoever was driving that car took her into silence. And what happened after that was never captured. But the toll booth hit changed everything, because now they knew Danielle had not been alone, and she had not been behind the wheel, which made one thing impossible to ignore. The car had been parked, neatly, carefully, behind an abandoned fireworks stand on the opposite side of town, and whoever left it there had driven it after the toll checkpoint, had locked the doors, had removed the keys, and walked away, or had help, because something about the way that passenger sat didn't look like someone trying to escape. It looked like someone who knew they wouldn't be getting out. They re-questioned Linda Covington, asked again about the truck, about the street, about the man she'd seen parked near the trees. And that's when she hesitated, looked down, and said something she hadn't mentioned before. He was there the week before, too. "What do you mean?" they asked. "I saw him. Same place. Same silver truck. Engine running." Did you recognize him? No, but that time, he got out. She described a man in jeans and a navy hoodie, average height, beard, older. He didn't knock, didn't approach the house, just walked up the sidewalk like he belonged there, then turned and walked back to the truck. Almost like he was timing something, she said. Was it a test run? A dry run to study Danielle's route? They checked Franklin Rourke's DMV photo against Linda's description. Close, but inconclusive. There was still no definitive link. No fingerprints. No surveillance footage showing Rourke anywhere near Danielle that day. But the toll booth image haunted everyone, because in the still shot, as blurry as it was, you could just barely see the shape of a ponytail. Her ponytail. And if it was Danielle, then she'd still been alive. At 3:52 p.m., less than half an hour, after she waved goodbye at the gate. And that meant whatever happened next was intentional, planned, and fast. Investigators began reprocessing a theory that the truck had blocked her car as she turned onto County Road 6, that the driver had flashlights, maybe pretended to need help, that he knew her schedule, knew her stop times, and knew she'd be alone, and that whoever got in the car with her didn't do it by force, not right away, but through familiarity, or manipulation, or patience, because predators don't always rush. Sometimes they study, wait, circle, and when the moment is just right, they make sure there's no one around to see it, and when it's over, they leave you, just enough to be remembered, like a zipped salon bag, set gently on top of the grass, not buried, not hidden, placed like a warning or farewell. The phone had never been found, not at the car, not in the salon bag, not pinging off any tower after 3:41 p.m., the day Danielle disappeared. Her phone went dark and stayed dark. But in April 2024, almost 7 years later, that silence was broken for just 21 seconds. It happened at 2:13 a.m. A tower just outside of Brushy Hollow, Kentucky, registered a ghost signal from a deactivated number. The number belonged to Danielle Harris. The same phone registered missing since 2017. It pinged once, then nothing. No location trace, no call. But someone or something had turned it on long enough for it to reach the network, long enough to be noticed. The signal was flagged by an automated system used to detect dormant phones that suddenly reactivate. The phone never connected again, but the investigation team was already watching the database for anything remotely connected to Danielle's case. And 3 days after that ghost ping, they found something else. An incoming call made from a burner phone registered in Warren County, a restricted number, made at 2:14 a.m. to that same deactivated line. The call lasted 11 seconds, and someone picked up. There was no voice recognition, no audio recovered, but the connection was real, and the question was immediate. Who was on the other end of that call? And how was Danielle's number even reachable? The answer came from an unusual place. A former telecom employee, now retired, who heard about the story in a Facebook group. He messaged a cold case tip line, said he'd seen similar cases before, phones that had been factory reset, then kept off-grid for years. When powered back on, they briefly attempted to reconnect to the last known network. Sometimes, they reappear as a ghost ID in the system for less than a minute, but only if the phone was never destroyed, never smashed, never wiped completely, and only if someone had been keeping it, which means this: Danielle's phone was not dumped, not lost, not destroyed. It had been kept, protected, preserved for nearly 7 years. And then someone turned it on, then called it. Why? And why in Brushy Hollow? A tiny town, no connection to Danielle, no past work, family, or travel history, just 800 people and a highway that fades into woods. But there was one name that did ring familiar, a woman named Joy Rourke, age 36, sister of Franklin Rourke, the man who vanished. Shortly after Danielle's salon bag was discovered, she lived in a house just 3 miles from the cell tower that picked up the ghost ping. Police paid her a visit, casual at first, friendly, questions about her brother, when she'd seen him last. She was guarded, defensive, said Franklin hadn't contacted her in years. When asked if he'd ever visited recently, she said no, But neighbors had a different story. One man down the road remembered a silver truck pulling in late one night, 2 weeks before the ping. He said it stayed just a few hours, then disappeared again. They searched Joy's property. No warrant at first, but they returned with one, and that's when they found it, in a locked utility shed out back, buried under plastic bins and rusted tools. A shoebox. Inside, one prepaid burner phone. No SIM. Wiped clean. And beneath it, a white iPhone with a crack across the top right corner. The serial number matched the device Danielle Harris had owned in 2017. The same phone she had used to confirm her last appointment. The one that had gone dark right after she left Linda Covington's gate. It still had her pop socket. A photo of her and her mom at 4th of July parade. Slightly faded. Still intact. No fingerprints. No blood. But still, it was hers. And that meant someone had kept it. All these years. When confronted, Joy Rourke broke. Not fully. Not clearly. But something inside her cracked. She admitted Franklin had visited. Just once, she said. He left something for safekeeping. Said not to open it. Said it was her phone. She didn't ask questions. Didn't want to know. But guilt has a funny shape. And sometimes it shows up in the form of a late-night call you weren't ready to make. No charges were filed. Joy never confessed to anything more. And Franklin Rourke? Still missing. Still untraceable. No bank activity. No surveillance. No confirmed sightings. Some believe he's still alive, hiding in the woods, living off cash, off-grid, watching, waiting. Others believe he's dead, that guilt finally overtook him, that maybe the bag was his confession. But the truth is, Danielle Harris has never been found. No body, no grave, no confirmed final location. Just her car, her tools, her handwriting, her phone, and a question that refuses to fade. Why take her and keep only fragments? Why preserve her scissors, her notebook, her number, as if they still mattered, as if she still might be out there, if the story stayed with you? They're more like it. Real disappearances, unanswered questions, clues hidden in plain sight. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next case we bring back into the light, because some stories aren't over. They're just waiting to be heard.